Hey everybody, this is Shit Talk Reviews. Hi, thanks for joining us. My name's John.
Derek.
I'm Dave.
We're going to talk about an album. This is the first proper review that we'll be doing, and hopefully throwing up at everyone.
Metallica 72 Seasons.
There's excitement about this record, not only in the room but all over the place. Fair statement.
What's awesome about this is that their first album came out in what, 83? Kill 'Em All?
I think it was 83, yeah.
So we're talking about this band 40 years later.
Yeah.
They're still going, still selling out arenas. Undisputed, really, when it comes down to it, one of the greats.
Yeah. I wouldn't
If you would have told me when I was 12, we'd be sitting here at my age talking about another release from this band. It's astonishing.
Yeah. Credit where credit's due. Whether you like the new album or their last albums or any of their records, it's kind of hard to deny. They're still up there killing it. And they're not young kids. You know, Papa Head is 60 now. Is that right?
He is turning 60 very soon.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're not kids. And the fact that they're up crushing it to the level they are is impressive.
So what's interesting is I flew up to Boston, my old stomping ground, and I went and saw Boston Calling last May. And I was floored that James Hetfield came out of rehab, coming out of a divorce, and his voice was better now than anything you heard in the 80s, the 90s. And it was painfully obvious. Not painfully, it's a bad word, but it was delightful to hear him hitting high notes, singing, raspy as ever, owning the place. And there was arguably 60,000 people at Boston Calling, as far as you could see back at Harvard in the athletic fields. And he owned it. And he was hitting notes. He was coming out, and sonically he was powerful. He was in charge. He was confident. And so when I heard they were doing a new album, I was really curious about where they were going to go, because his vocals now are far better. And when you go back and listen to all of the live material from the 80s, the 90s, not even close. And he is killing it. That show was amazing. And on this album, I would argue that he is singing better on this album than any other Metallica album.
I'd like to piggyback on that. Not only is he right, the guy is just phenomenal. To me, lyrically, it's one of the best Metallica albums, at least from how I take it. Lyrically, phenomenal. This was spot on. Lyric-wise, Hetfield was at his best.
I won't speak to the lyrics myself because I'm not a lyric.
I'm a lyric guy.
I am. Yeah. I am a vocal guy in that I appreciate the way a good singer will use his voice as an additional layer, an additional instrument. I don't typically pay much attention to the content, though. That's not to say that I won't pick up on lyrics and sing along and things like that, but it's more for the percussive element. I'm a drummer deep in my heart. But his vocals are ripping on this record. Doubt. They're really good.
The other thing is it is about him. And I'm not so sure that a lot of the early stuff... And look, is this album going to stand with Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, and Justice for All, and the Black Album? No, it is not. But is it right behind those five? I would say yes. It is far better than the Loads. It is far better than Death Magnetic. Saint Anger is not even, to me, is not even in a Metallica album. It's a bad Entombed album. And you know, the Hardwired to Self-Destruct was pretty good. But this album, to me, because of the fact that his vocals were so good, and it's very personal. It's not talking about, Creeping Death is not about James Hetfield.
Right.
Let's be honest about that. Ride the Lightning is not about him. James Hetfield was not, blown into a stump in war. So the reality is that his reality, his pain, his misery, his failure with his marriage is very real on this album. And then the fact that later in his career, he has gone and perfected his craft. He's always been an amazing picker. He's always an amazing chugga riff guy, but now his vocals match his ability on his guitars, and it shows in this album, and the songwriting is really, really solid. There was a guy, I forget his name, Mercury Prophetic, something like that. He was a YouTuber, and he went and put Injustice for All tones over
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of the songs. And there's a lot of songs like Shadows Follow. I know
Right.
you love that
it.
song.
Love it.
He played those riffs with the tones and the production values of Injustice for All. It fits in perfectly.
Yeah.
And
it is pretty impressive.
I think for a long time this was it's probably still. Do we agree it's Lars's band, right?
not really.
Well, let me finish. Like it was. You're coming off of four.
You're getting a little pushy.
You're coming off of 4 albums.
Yeah.
Just dial it back a little
Metallica
bit.
gets a bad rap because you got 4 albums that are insanely good, and then they almost earn the right to do what they want, right?
Mhm.
So they can do that. But Derek is right because I always felt it was Lars' band, but somehow on this album, I almost feel like they said, "Here, James, it's yours.
Well,
Go
it's
have
interesting.
at it."
James was interviewed recently. Maybe it was during the recording. I'm not sure. But he was pretty open about saying, like, look, let's open it up and get ideas from everybody,
Right.
which does kind of fly in the face of what you just said.
So you're wrong,
yeah.
Dave.
So,
Okay.
I hate to start.
To me, it sounds like this was his album.
You know what?
This was his.
Let's
Yeah.
hit the pause button for a second because I'm curious what the favorite past Metallica albums are
Okay.
for everybody here.
Yeah.
Just because that might give some context to what we are talking about with this new record. Derek, favorite Metallica?
Justice is right. Justice is done.
David.
For me, it's a no-brainer. Master of Puppets is a masterpiece.
Yeah. I have to say I actually vacillate between those two.
Yeah.
I think Justice is it's just such a great record. I love the tones on it. It seems so raw to me, but at the same time, really slick.
As a young kid, it blew my mind to turn on the Grammys and see Metallica playing one. I mean, they were my guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
And for a lot of us
Right.
that are this age, metal had arrived.
Yeah.
And Metallica broke through a ceiling. And for me, they're heroes. I mean, it seems like a little bit of a cop-out that our first podcast, not blog, is about Metallica in 72 seasons. It's easy to do that instead
Yeah.
of doing an underground band. But it's relevant for the time. And it's occurred to me that for me, they are a little bit of, not heroes, but I admire them, and I admire that they're able to put out such a solid album this deep in, and they're still working at their craft. Because a lot of people mail it in.
Yeah.
They could mail it in.
But they earn the right to do what they want. This album, for me, at least goes back to the first 4. You can kind of hear it in this album. You know what I mean?
There's moments. There's moments too
Yeah.
that take me back to
Right.
Justice specifically. Oh God, what was it? Room of Mirrors. You had some Justice vibes for me.
Okay.
And then there's songs like Sleepwalk My Life Away and You Must Burn.
Mm-hmm.
They are, I mean, they could fit into the Load albums, which I don't like. I haven't listened to them in years, and I literally skip over those songs.
And they're not on my top 5.
No.
So you're right.
Yeah, we're right there.
Yeah.
But then once you get the Lux Eterna, right on through to the end in a Murata, which is a Black Sabbath ode.
Yeah.
It's a dark song.
But right on through, it just hits. They hit off. They start fast with 72 Seasons, and Shadows Follow is one of the best songs that they've done in years. Right on through, I think Chasing Light is my favorite song. It's fast. It has a crossover thrash feel to it. There's a riff in there for those who know who Power Trip is. They're a crossover thrash band from Texas. Not a blatant ripoff, but it is a Power Trip
A
riff.
strong nod.
Derek
is.
Derek and I are spot on if it comes to the top 5. Everything he's mentioning, I agree.
You're feeling pretty good about yourself.
I am.
aren't you, Dave?
I'm not happy we're agreeing on this, but
Well, you know what?
but he's right. I got to give him his dues. So the songs he's mentioning are they're my favorites on the album.
Yeah,
No doubt.
I'm definitely a progressive metal fan, and there's moments. That's one of the things that I really do like about this record is it kind of jumps around a little bit. I mean, it's still a Metallica record, no doubt, but as you were saying, they really move from feel to feel within the context of one song. We going to get copyrighted now.
Yeah, we might. Sorry about that.
There are
that's all
certain
right.
things about this album I wish not to say I don't like it because I respect these guys. There's just things on the album that I didn't care for. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of guitar solos, especially long, whiny guitar solos. Not saying Hammett did that, But I'm just not a fan of guitar solos. I could do without.
You know what? Let's talk guitar solos from a little bit. That's one of the areas of this record that didn't. I don't want to say it disappointed me, but Kirk is, and this is not to beat up on Kirk as a player. He's a great player, and I don't know how to say this without sounding like a dick, and I feel kind of bad about that because if I were Kirk and I heard me say this, I'd say, "Great, let me hear your album."
True,
you know. So
yeah.
He does kind of he leans on the wah again, but that's a Kirk thing. You know? So I don't know if that's just his signature thing, and I should just say, well, no, that's just Kirk.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I could do without it.
The wah was not there early on. Not as much.
No, not early on.
The first 4 albums, but you'll notice that when they got more jazzy and a little sleazy with the loads.
Sleazy.
They I mean, they were kind of Creed-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it with the loads.
Yeah.
But that's where a lot of that...
you could say it was an aptly named album.
Yeah, it was. I mean... We're shit talk reviews. We're going to try to be positive, but we don't like load. So if you do and you're listening, we're sorry, but we don't like the loads and reload. That said, I do believe that part of wherever he was in that time as a musician, it has stuck with him. But it does feel like 72 Seasons is a pat on the back to every fan that has liked anything that they've done. And Inamorata is a little bit like Saint Anger, but a better produced version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But David had mentioned the negatives on the album. I would have loved to see this album or hear this album be done with the production values of one of the first 4 records or any of the first 4 records. And who knows, maybe Metallica will be on the cutting edge and they'll start producing their albums with 5 different versions. If you like the Puppets era, here is 72 Seasons with Puppets, Puppets tones and production values. Here's 72 Seasons with Justice tones. Or if you're going to go for the big giant sound, here's 72 Seasons with the Black Album and Bob Rock, big epic.
Yeah,
tones.
Who is it? Greg Feidelman? Is that his name? The producer of this? Feidelman. There's people who really just beat him up for the production of 72 Seasons, which is it's a tough call.
It is a tough call. I wouldn't say it was.
I think the problem, and like what we're talking about, as the evolution of Metallica or any other band for that matter. You grow older, the vibe changes, your situations change, and you evolve. And I think it's inevitable that you're going to evolve as a player. And consequently, a band is going to evolve and the sound is going to change a little bit. And some people are going to like that new sound. And some people are going to say, my God, that's the worst fucking thing I've ever heard. Why aren't you doing it the way you did it in 91? It's worth keeping in mind when you look at an album. As you said, Dave, I mean, these guys have been around for 40 years.
It's amazing.
Honestly.
And they earn their right.
I have not liked all the albums they've put out. I respect that they're still doing it. And with the exception of you, Dave, I wouldn't beat up on anybody who liked an earlier Metallica record. But the evolution is tough. And you can look at any artist that's been around for more than 2 or 3 records over the span of a couple of years and have the same conversation.
I would love to ask James this question because I do know that Lemmy from Motorhead, for those who don't know, hopefully you're listening to this, you know that. He loves Lemmy. He loves Motorhead. And if you listen, there is a lot of similarities to the modern Metallica sound, tonality, sonically, to what Motorhead was with modern production values. It's thinner than the classic Metallica, but it is very much in that same vein as Motorhead. And maybe at an older age, that's the tone that they're going to go for, the sound that they're going to go for the rest of the way, because it worked for Lemmy. So in their mind's mind, maybe that's where they're going. I don't know. Yeah. I would love to ask them that question, but for me, it worked.
Who do we need to call to get James in here?
Oh, gosh.
Let's get James on the line.
I'm not going to mention her name, but I will send this podcast to her, and maybe she'll set it up, but I doubt she will.
Listen, I thought you had pull, man. I thought you had street cred, Derek.
No, I know a couple people.
You know what? Let's just shut this shit down now. There's just no point in continuing if you don't have the connects.
I will send it to her. Maybe she'll enjoy this.
Well,
I don't
Derek,
know.
do more than that.
Guys, was it me or did it feel like the bass was just invisible this entire time?
All right. So here is my take on that.
Because I just was disappointed. I really, because I love bass. And
I
I like
agree.
Trujillo. I think he's awesome.
I agree. I think Robert is a phenomenal bassist.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's gotten his due. Was it, Inamorata? There is that bass break in there, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I was happy to hear it, but it wasn't enough for
Most
me.
of the album just doesn't, you can't hear him.
I've been waiting for Robert to get to step out front, and get like all the spotlight and just some nasty, grindy bass tone.
How about a
with
start?
him just
a
killing
lead
it.
to a song with a killer bass line.
Well, I don't know, and I might take some flack for saying this, but it feels like, when the band lost Cliff, the remaining members just went, okay, well, we don't really need a bass player anymore. A bass player that's going to get the credit that Cliff got. And maybe I'm not putting that right, but I don't think the bass has been out front since.
All right, I'm glad we
Cliff
agree
died.
on that.
Well, there is a bass line, and I'm
There
going to
is.
disagree with you and sleepwalk my life away, but it's not as prevalent as you would hope.
Right.
Look, there's massive egos. Right?
Mm-hmm.
James wants to be front and center. Lars is always front and center. Those drums are always very high.
Especially on this album.
They are on every one of them.
They overtook, no doubt.
We got to talk about it.
Go ahead.
We got to
The
talk
songs are
about it.
powerful.
Go ahead.
Every song on this album.
John, talk about the fills.
Okay, here's my thing. And I kind of seriously joke a lot about Lars. A lot of people do. A lot of drummers do. Now, I want to give credit where credit's due. Again, Lars would be well within his rights to walk into this room right now and say, okay, asshole, where's your 40 years of albums? And he would win that argument hands down,
Right.
I'm an idiot who spends time in my garage. He's on, world tours every couple of years. So credit where credit's due. I think the drum sound on this album is good. I have to question if it is all live performances that we're hearing and not some programmed drums. I say that because I'm very familiar with programming drums. I do it a lot myself in the music I write. And drums can be programmed to have a very human feel. Drums can be programmed to be very precise, ultra precise, snap to the grid. Everything is perfect. I will go out on a limb and say on this record, I think some of the drums sound a little too perfect to be live performance drums. I expect some pushback from people on that, and maybe it's deserved, maybe it isn't, but it's my take, and I don't know. Thoughts? Am I alone in my principles here?
So when I sit with you, you'll cringe at some of the fills in the songs. Like I think the first time we listened to 72 Seasons, the
single.
Yeah, you were kind of cringing that there was opportunity to fill better than what Lars chose to do.
Yeah.
And maybe that is your, this is not a detriment, but you're a prog guy. And the drumming in prog metal is intense comparatively. It's active and the fills are, it takes a mathematician to appreciate prog metal. Metallica, some parts like Dyer's Eve, there's some serious riffage and speed and everything else in that from Injustice for All. But for the most part, comparatively to prog, it is not as technical.
Mm-hmm. That's absolute fair statement. And I would say that the parts that Lars has written on all the records over the years, there's been some stuff that I've gone, I don't love it. But I would say far more often than not, what he writes is great for the song. Is it what I would write? No. But like you said, Derek, I'm a prog guy. I like really active and, syncopated stuff, that's hard to tap your foot to. And that's just not how Lars plays.
I would agree to that. He's got an ability to arrange a song where you're right. I can't put it into words.
Well, it's kind of like Kirk with some of his wah-based leads.
Right.
Is it a signature thing? Is that who he is as a player? If so, cool. That's great. And I'm an asshole. And I'm open to that possibility that, I'm the dick here.
I think his arrangements are awesome for these songs on these albums. No problem with him at all. I think they were sounded a little too much on this album, but he's an air drummer type guy. You hear a Metallica song and you just, you're going, you're air drumming. He's got that ability to bring you in.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, that's the thing. And, we're talking about a band here. And the band is the sum of the members. I mean, yeah, you can break it down to all the individual parts and get really granular with it, which I'm happy to do too. But I think I would guess most people are not listening really finite, like to pick tiny things apart. They're just listening to hear that the whole package.
Right.
And in that regard, they are and have always been a great band. Even their bad, let me rewind that. Even the albums that aren't as well received as others.
Lulu?
I never say bad because they earn the right to experiment. And do what
Exactly.
they want.
Agreed.
And if the fans buy into it, they do. If they don't, then they don't. But they earned it. Right?
You know what? I guess the question would be, and I have to ask myself this question. If Lars were to walk in the room right now, would I say to his face what I'm saying to you guys right now?
Well, if I
And
send
I don't know if I would.
He seems cool enough where he would have that.
If I
hope
send this to this individual that I mentioned, which I
Right,
will,
right.
and we probably will not get a response, but
Which would be legit.
she might sick him on you. So
Well,
we'll never know. I'm curious to
I
find
think
out.
Lars
I would
is a
love
cool
to see.
enough guy to maybe answer that question. I don't know.
I hope so. We all remember the Napster days and what went down there, with the lawsuits and all that. And I have the dubious honor of being one of the people that received a letter from Metallica's legal team. I will say, in my defense, it was not justified because I did not have any Metallica on my computer at that time. I had a cover done by Primus of Master of Puppets, which, by the way, is awesome if you can find it.
Right.
It's a great song. We know that Metallica and certain members in the band rubbed some of the listening population the wrong way there with that whole Napster thing. And I see both sides of it. As somebody who's, attempted to make my own noise over the years, it would probably...
You imagine giving birth and having everybody take your child away for free?
Right. Yeah. I want to be paid for my children.
It didn't affect them in any way of not listening. Nobody stopped listening to Metallica.
How do you know? Did you see their bank account at the time,
I'm just
Dave?
saying,
You're right,
nobody,
but
nobody.
okay, that was the whole thing with
If you like
with
a band,
Napster.
you're going to listen to the band. I mean,
Yeah, but that was still the whole Napster thing took place in the era where we were all still buying physical CDs.
True. I get it.
That was at the beginning of the MP3 era. So it did, or at least could have had, potentially a significant monetary effect on them. And in that regard, they were justified in making a stink about it.
No doubt.
It's just for them, it's unfortunate that they were the only ones making a big stink about it. And so a lot of people were like, what the hell's wrong with these guys? They should relax. But I do understand their position then. I also understand the position of the fans who are like, well, I'm going to listen either way, and this is ridiculous, and you're alienating your fan base. And so I don't know. It was that whole thing was sticky. But
Here's what not to go off track, but
you're gonna?
Yeah, of course you're going to.
What bothers me about Metallica fans is what bothered me about the Grateful Dead fans, because I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan. And when they came out with In the Dark,
wait.
Well, hold on.
Are we talking about Metallica or Grateful Dead?
Let me finish. When they came out with In the Dark and they went commercial, they got a whole new set of fans, right?
That's true.
So when they came out with the Black Album, all those fans that never heard the first 4 albums started liking Metallica from then on.
Yeah, that's true.
And those are those people don't have any right to say anything.
And then they got a whole different round of fans like a year and a half ago when Stranger Things came out, and oh my God, that was amazing.
My 11-year-old and my 9-year-old want to listen to Master of Puppets whenever Mom is not in the car.
So
they're like, turn it up.
Hey, props to Metallica for being cool with that. As we said, that song's a masterpiece. The record is incredible. So I'm glad that they were able to expose another 2 billion people to that album
a whole nother
who maybe hadn't heard it before.
Insane amount of following after that album.
But Dave, if you would, please try and keep it on track next time.
I just
I don't want to hear I don't want the words Grateful Dead.
You know what it is? You struck a nerve with Napster because those loyal fans to them in those first 4 albums will stay with them regardless. It's the ones who hate that weren't really those fans in the beginning.
Yeah.
That bothers me. That's
Those
all.
first 4 albums were insanely good. They were so good.
All right,
they are so good.
So let's do this. Let's talk about 72 Seasons. Is this album the 6th best Metallica album? Let's say the first 4.
What's your 4th?
Yeah, what's the top 5 then?
My top 5 are Injustice for All, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All,
That's
Black
everybody's
Album.
top 4.
Right.
Yeah.
But you include the Black Album.
I like the Black Album. I didn't hate it when it came out. Did I love it? No. Am I sick of Enter Sandman? Absolutely. I can't imagine them having to play Enter Sandman every night and actually show emotion about it.
Yeah.
Because it's just so beat. But people love it.
People do love it.
So, but that said, the rest of that album is really good for a rock album.
The thing is,
and I had to get there with that.
The albums that came after those four are all different. Load, Saint Anger, they're all different. This one goes back to those four in a way. So for me, this would probably be right up there, top 5, top 6.
I would agree with that. I'd
Yeah.
put it at 5 or 6 beyond the first 4 records.
Yes.
Can we put Garage Days revisited in there? I mean, I know it's
Covers, though.
it's covers, but they are Metallica versions of those songs. I mean, I think there's room for it to be on a list, maybe with an asterisk next to it. One of the things that I really like about 72 Seasons is it did bring me back. It gave me some feel from the first 4. It took me back to
I agree.
to the 80s and early 90s Metallica. There were so many moments on 72 Seasons where I went, ooh, oh, there it is. There it is. And I found myself getting really worked up.
It's a good album.
Which I think is awesome.
Everybody has songs they don't like, and there's probably 3 songs that I don't, maybe 3 or 4 that I don't care for, 2 that I didn't like, but, that's every album.
Would you say that you didn't like them, or just that they weren't as high up? You wouldn't rank them as high as some of the others?
Just wouldn't rank them as high as the others.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
So, do we put a number on this now? Have we reached that point? Do we
Out of 10 being the best?
Do we 1 to 10 this record?
Sure.
Are we there now?
I'm there. I could give you my top 5, and I could give you what I thought.
All right.
If you want.
Hit us with your 1 to 10 for 72 Seasons.
It's a hard 7 out of 10.
That's right where I am.
Yep.
So the first time I listened to it, it was about 3:00 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I woke up. I listened to it. I gave it a C then.
Mm-hmm.
After listening to it and really digesting it and seeing what this means, not necessarily for me, but for an entire fan base, what it means for James, because it obviously means a lot to him.
This is his album.
This is a purge for him.
Yeah.
This is a dark album.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated it more and more and more. And I'm at a point where I give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Will they ever touch the top 4 again? Probably not. But I would put this thing just behind the Black Album. It is that good and is that well done. And I have enormous respect for where they're at and what they put forward at this point in the game.
That's
a
awesome.
good assessment.
Yeah. So we have
7 and 8 range.
Two hard 7s and a hard 8.
Yeah. I would have leaned. I could easily go 8.
I'd go 7 just because I am Metallica. When I think Metallica, I think back to those first 4, and it would be so hard for any band to recreate what they recreated 40 years ago.
I think to get an 8.5 or higher, you got to have every song dead on. For me, it's a 7 out of 10 because there's some really good songs on there, and there's some I didn't care for. That's why I got my score.
Here's the question, and the whole point of us doing what we're doing for fans who have thought that Metallica was dead and gone.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't listened to them since Justice. They hated the Black Album. They've hated the Loads, the Saint Angers. They've given no chance to the last 3 albums. Is it worthy of their time?
Yeah, it's definitely worth the listen.
No doubt.
And I say that because I don't want to say that I'd written Metallica off, but there was a part of me that was just like, I don't need to go there. And it was you who, when the first singles started dropping, you were like, you really got to listen to this. Okay, I'll give it a spin. And I did. And I am glad I did, because although the album for me front to back isn't what I want it to be, which is one of the first 4 from 40 years ago, it gave me enough little injections, enough little shots throughout the album to go like, shit, there they are, man. They're fucking back.
I was hooked when I walked in here 2 weeks ago, maybe, and I said, John, you got to see them on Kimmel.
Yeah.
Was it Kimmel they were on?
Yeah, they did that week
I was
residency
hooked,
on
right
Kimmel.
there, hooked. I got to listen to it.
For me, the reason why I gave it an 8 was, are there songs that I want to see live? Because I've got tickets for next year with Pantera and them up in Boston. Do I want to hear these songs? And I do want to see 72 Seasons live. I want to see Shadows Follow live. I want to see Chasing Light live, and I want to see Room of Mirrors live. And frankly, I'd like to see Inamorata executed because I think there's something very special about that song. I know that Elton John recently said that that Nothing Else Matters is one of the most beautiful songs of all time, and James got teary-eyed on Howard. But I think Inamorata, there's something in that vein. It's different for them. It's more, again, in that Saint Anger realm. There's fuzzier distortion. It's more doomy, more Black Sabbath-y. But it means something to James, and I'd like to see him perform that live.
Just so we're on the same page, my top 5, I'm not going to number them. Too Far Gone, Chasing Light, Room of Mirrors, I loved. Shadows Follow, Lux Eterna, 72 Seasons, all my favorites. Shadows Follow, and Chasing Light.
I love Chasing Light. I'm a big fan. I haven't, and maybe it's because the album didn't move me enough to rank, the tracks or a top 5 or whatever. But I do love Chasing Light. And for me, it's a moments record. Maybe it's that it's not entire songs that, just totally blew my doors off. But there were enough moments on there that that's why I said I am super comfortable giving it a hard 7, because there were enough moments that cumulatively I'm like, cool.
Too Far Gone goes right back to those 4 albums for me. Love it. And
so as you're saying, they're on tour. You've got tickets
next
year. Yeah, I have a little surprise for you guys. Michigan is my hometown. I was born just outside of Detroit. I've been out of Michigan for a long, long time, but I have tickets for the 3 of us to go see them in Detroit.
Are you kidding?
Yes, I am. I don't have tickets. I wouldn't spend that kind of money on you guys. I don't like you that much.
Well, I'm going to beat your ass when we're done with this.
But I will tell you this, that I will find tickets if you guys buy me a ticket and fly me wherever the show is.
That's fair.
Is that fair?
Sure.
It feels fair to me.
That's fair to you, yeah, no doubt.
I'm going to need money for food, lodging,
Just
travel.
Fill out a sheet like we do in
I'll
sign
definitely.
off on
Okay.
it. We'll take care
All
of it.
right, good. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we wrap
No.
this 72 Seasons review? Nothing? No final
No.
thoughts?
No, I just want to say...
I just want Dave to shut up and let it end.
Oh my God, you're not kidding.
I think I was very well behaved on this one.
Not really.
That's a matter of opinion.
You're
Bring it back.
very opinionated, and you talk about yourself a lot and your needs.
Did
and
I
what you
talk
like
about
the
myself
album.
once on this podcast?
Yeah.
You know what though? We have to. He is the elder statesman in the room.
It's true.
So
Thank you, John.
well, it's not necessarily a positive for you. He's old. You have, the seniors. You have to give them a little rope.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, and check back again real soon. Thanks, fellas.